Hi, it's Grayson Peltier, former political organization board member, USC graduate in political science, and holistic communications consultant specializing in alternative cultures and advocacy. Um, Recently, Tyler Joseph of the band 21 Pilots has come under substantial criticism for a tweet in relation to advocacy for Black Lives Matter and calls from his fans and others to use his platform for those causes. Um, his most recent tweet in regards to this was you wearing a pair of platform sneakers and basically joking around about, you guys want me to use my platforms, look, I'm using my platforms, while he's wearing these sneakers. And he received a lot of criticism for this, and then after that he posted some tweets about mental health awareness, and then later corrected that he is absolutely still in support of Black Lives Matter, and that that nothing he said was meant to have anything in regards to human rights. So generally, I'm going to give you some analysis. My analysis is going to be a bit more from a professional perspective, as somebody who has experience in the political field and is trained in the field and has strong interest in alternative culture, and also as someone who is a fan of 21 Pilots. Um, Generally, the platform tweet itself was ill-advised. It was a bad joke, and I don't think it was done maliciously. I think that perhaps what may have happened is he may have felt a certain level of stress. There may have been other things going on in his life that caused him to think in a certain way, or also his specific type of creativity that he uses tends to be rather unique, and he thought, okay, this is what goes. It's very stream of consciousness. If you ever listen to 21 Pilots music, it tends to come off as very stream of consciousness, not very polished. And in fact, there's actually a lyric, "Don't trust a song that's flawless." And in a way, that's probably pretty true. Um, but here, in this particular case, what he did was ill-advised, not a good idea. The later tweets in relation to mental health awareness kind of give away that he may have been in a bad emotional state at the time of this. So I don't think any of what he is doing is malicious in nature. Would I have advised it if he was my client? Absolutely not. Would I have went and tried to like stick him in a box and make him do what I want to do? No. Unfortunately, a lot of the experts that do political consulting, especially the generic ones that perhaps came from a label or whatever, they make people say things in a very awkward way, and they expect everybody to speak like a career politician. And that's not a philosophy I subscribe to, and that may be one of the issues why somebody like a Tyler Joseph would experience these kinds of issues. They don't really have the kind of good advice to help them navigate these issues, because the advice is repulsive to them. And I absolutely 100% understand that. So I want to make clear that 21 Pilots, their creative style, and from what I know of the band, puts them in a position where they're not going to be, there's a bit of management of expectations. They're not going to be super polished. They're not going to be a regular pop band. They're not the focus group driven, perfectly constructed persona created by music business people type artists. They're not like the factory manufactured boy band or something like that. That's not what 21 Pilots is, and that's a great thing. I think that it's what 21 Pilots has to offer is very strong. I think that it has very strong pro-social benefits. and the issue that one of the issues they really shined on is mental health. And for him to bring that up is actually, I would say, a good thing. And most of the mental health thread, I would have approved of it. It stated its points very well outside the context of platforms. It stated its points well. He even went and cited statistics from a few reputable organizations, including the World Health Organization, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. He was very good in that set of tweets. It was just the context there. That 100% approved, used his correct creative style, and was very, very authentic. Didn't fall into the sort of generic trap that I'm pretty sure that if he would have gone out and talked to somebody, he probably would have gone to somebody that would have told him, no, you need to put it in this structure. You need to stick to 3 key issues, make 3 key points on this. You have to follow this exact structure. You have to maybe make a sentence of a personal anecdote, but then you have to stay specifically on a message. You have to have perfect message discipline, all that stuff that works well in campaigns. That's the kind of advice he probably would have gotten. That's probably why he would have not been as amenable to that kind of advice. And then, of course, you have the people on the internet influencing you. You have people on Twitter saying, you need to tweet this, you need to say that, you need to say that, and he wants to be himself. He wants to express himself in a way that feels comfortable to him, and nobody is really giving him the space to actively collaborate and figure out, okay, so how do we take how Tyler Joseph thinks and apply it in a positive and constructive way to help with Black Lives Matter? That's probably not something that he's getting. He's getting either upset people that are somewhat coming off as opposition to him, even though they're probably not really opposition. And then going out possibly seeking advice and being told to do something generic that he doesn't feel comfortable with. And that's going to be a challenge for him. That's going to be frustrating. And for somebody that openly expresses their frustration, they're going to openly express their frustration, and in a way that unfortunately was not terribly constructive. And keep in mind that this type of response has absolutely nothing to do with ideology in general. I'm going to give you a caveat to that, but generally, how politically correct or incorrect is oftentimes doesn't have much to do with ideology. It's more of a stylistic thing. I'm going to bring out an example from a culture similar to the one 21 Pilots exists in, which is punk rock. They tend to be rather politically incorrect, offensive in how they speak, things that don't exactly sound perfectly put together, very DIY, yet these are people that support social justice, support causes like Black Lives Matter, support equality in ways that are as strong, if not stronger, than a mainstream artist who provides a carefully crafted statement. It really isn't that much to do with ideology, but here's the caveat. 21 Pilots kind of exists in an interesting space. It is a bit more of a socially conservative type content, or something that's been traditionally classified that way. Do I agree with classification? Not really. But you would kind of traditionally classify some of the sort of moral and religious views as being more traditional and conservative, and his upbringing in a suburban Ohio community. There was actually a user on Reddit. Hopefully I'll be able to link the comment in the description that said, well, it's because he sort of has this upbringing in a suburban background, Ohio. He's a white male, and maybe it's taking him time to learn and understand some of these social justice issues, which I can relate to. My political background was actually working on the conservative side for many years. I've changed quite a few of those opinions and realized they're wrong, and it is a process. It's a process you shouldn't have to go through alone, especially if you don't know what you're doing. but things can occasionally slip. So he may not feel terribly comfortable in what he's doing. He may still feel some cognitive dissonance. He may not know exactly what or where to go to. And also, there's sort of the concept, you want Black people to be speaking about these issues specifically for the Black Lives Matter, not necessarily having a narrative imposed. And sometimes that even makes, sometimes I get a little bit trepidatious. As someone even with experience, I get a little bit trepidatious. Okay, is what I'm saying here correct? Am I going to offend anybody? And for somebody who doesn't know, even more so. So there may have been some conflict in his mind that's taking a little bit of time to iron out. There's some rumors that his family are Trump supporters, things like that. I don't think he is. I think he may be having some challenges, some struggles of how to properly communicate, how to stay authentic, and it resulted in a mess up that blew up on a bigger, larger scale across the country and across the world, and that's an even bigger issue for somebody with his size of platform. So, and no pun intended there with the platform and the platform shoes. Okay, so how would Tyler Joseph go about solving this? So the mental health part, all good in my opinion. One thing I would have suggested is just when he was naming off statistics, he could have stated, he named like a certain number of people who succumbed to suicide in a given day. He could have went in there and he could have and stated this many people are people of color, and it's important to realize that this affects people of color in unique ways. That would have sounded super authentic, very much in line with the prior sort of narrative of 21 Pilots and what they're about. Would have been very relevant, and you're literally showing that Black lives do matter, and I'm contributing in a way that is authentic to me. Of course, platforms tweet, don't do it. What he should have done is he should have had somebody who he trusts implicitly, not some record label person who you maybe feel a little queasy being around, not even the guy who happens to do political work at your ad agency or at some firm in big law that is mostly focused on helping cell phone companies lobby for towers and stuff like that. Those are the kinds of people you'll see at big law firms who do political advocacy work. Not that kind of person necessarily, but somebody you feel very, very trustworthy with, who really understands these issues deeply. To talk to about, this is my frustration, this is what I'm going through, this is where I'm at in my ideological journey. How do I express this in a way that will not get me terribly in trouble? And then from there, there needs to be sort of a creative collaboration. It shouldn't just be like somebody saying, these are orders. And that's what happens oftentimes is some PR person, record label person who likes to bloviate will probably go in there and say, and I'm doing this based on just media reports and stuff I've heard about it. I don't have any personal experience dealing with musicians or record labels or anything or anything along those lines. I mostly worked for organizations on the political side, but probably somebody's like, you have to do it this way. We are going to prepare this statement for you, and you're going to post it exactly as we say it. And this is going to work. No. If he was my client, no, this is creative collaboration. He has something that he is gifted with words. He just needs to be pointed in the right direction to say the right thing, to get the message across that he wants to get across in the most effective and relevant manner. One of the mottos 21 Pilots has is, we are 21 Pilots, and so are you. I think that encapsulates the kind of openness, even with things that are maybe a little bit contentious or not perfect and unrefined, that they want to encapsulate, they want to express. And again, that is an excellent thing that needs to be preserved. I think that if that right balance can be struck, I think that 21 Pilots can have an excellent impact and continue to have an excellent impact on the community. And I don't think that a strategy of canceling and saying, no, 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 because you're not doing it right. You're not doing it right. We have to not listen to you anymore and not play your music anymore and remove you from the public space. I don't think that's constructive. I don't think that's helpful. I think that there needs to be more understanding on both sides as it comes to this. Standing on both sides as it comes to this. I have a podcast called the Fixer Punk Podcast. I have not updated it in a while, but every once in a while you'll get an episode about issues involving culture and politics and where they come together, and creating solutions that are appropriate for the situation and that take into account people's native knowledge of a situation, and incorporating that with the more traditional knowledge in the political and social sciences fields. So you can find the Fixer Punk podcast just about anywhere you get podcasts and at fixerpunk.com. Please like and subscribe here on the YouTube channel as well. And I will see you again hopefully soon. Thank you so much for watching. I do absolutely appreciate your time.